Is that your son there, Vinay?
Oh yeah, he just had a
Pretty
nap.
vocal today, huh?
He woke up early and he's hungry.
Nice.
Usually he's still asleep for another hour. Well, that's what happens when you change your clocks.
Yeah, love when that happens.
He doesn't read a clock. He's still getting up at 5 in the morning.
Oh man. Once our kids could read clocks, we ended up changing them about 30 or 45 minutes ahead so we could get a little more sleep.
That's smart. Trick them.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we've got enough time to get this part down right here. We're going to scroll down to day 3 of our notes. We're looking at the War of 1812. Let me just change that. There we go. So this is what we asked you to do, independent work. We asked you at the end of class yesterday to work on this reading, Adams and Jefferson. This is actually our second and third president of the United States who had very different ideas, and it's going to help you with your assignment for tomorrow. Because Adams is a lot like Hamilton, and Jefferson obviously is the opposite. Doesn't like things being done the way the Federalists want done. So there's just some easy questions for you to answer, which when you turn your assignment, we'll be able to see if you got the reading or not. Well, what we're looking at here is the War of 1812, which, surprise, surprise, happened just over 200 years ago in 1812. So if you look at here, I've got 6 causes for you, and I'm going to zoom in. We're going to do 3 at a time, and then we'll zoom out and give you the whole sheet at once. Okay? So the War of 1812, here are some reasons why this war occurred. The first one is impressment. Just like what the French was doing to American sailors, the British are doing the same thing. They're kidnapping our sailors and sunk our ships. We were a very weak nation. We couldn't really protect our people. So they kind of did whatever they wanted to us. The second thing is the Embargo Act. It's a law passed by President Thomas Jefferson, which said, hey, if you're going to sink our ships, and these are ships on the ocean, a lot like semi-trucks delivering goods, he passed a law saying, we're just going to stop trading. We're not going to trade with anyone. If we don't trade with anyone, we'll be safe. Well, that didn't work out for everyone in the long run. Doesn't really help the economy. And our last one for the set is Native Americans, Indians, attack Americans and are encouraged by the British. So as we're moving westward from our coastal cities and towns, we're moving out into this area, which is mostly occupied by Native Americans. The British are giving them supplies, encouraging them to attack American settlers. So give you about a minute to get these 3 down before we scroll down to 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah. Just so you know, with the changes I had to make to the options, I'll be the only one that can actually start the meeting. So I'll make sure I'm on early next time, and otherwise I can't let just anyone else start it. It's whoever sets up the meeting initially.
Exactly. And I think that's why they want us to set those that way.
Yeah.
That's right, Jade. I mean, we've been pretty lucky. We haven't had many issues. I guess other schools and classes have had a lot of issues with permissions. Our students have better things to do. All right, so I'm going to scroll down. Don't freak out because I'll have a copy of the notes for you. I'm going too quick for you. So 4, 5, and 6. We've got the Warhawks. Remember, we discussed these guys earlier. Is Warhawks are members of Congress that believe fighting will solve our problems. And they push for war with Britain. So this is like that friend of yours who just doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to make a deal, and think fighting is the best way to solve any problem. We actually have those people running the country at certain times in history. Our fifth cause is U.S. expansion. We're going from east to west. We can't go east because there's an ocean there. We go west, we buy Louisiana Purchase, but then we say, hey, why don't we go north and invade Canada and kick the British out? Because Canada was still a British colony. Right across Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, the river. So it's very close. This War of 1812 actually happened in Buffalo. There was a couple of major battles right here in our part of the country. Didn't work out too good for us, though. And the last thing is, this is a great use of checks and balances, and this is strict interpretation of the Constitution. President Madison asked Congress to declare a war in 1812. He cannot declare war himself. If he did, he would have too much power and be a dictator. So Congress has to, but he is allowed to discuss things with them and ask them for this action. So he asked Congress to declare a war. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to get these ones down, and I'll zoom out. We'll send you a little snippet of it all. Okay, so I'm going to just zoom out real quick. This is my little trick here. I'm going to zoom out and just go right to a full screen right there. Those are the notes we're taking right now. All right, so there's a copy of those notes right there for you. Big mouth. All right, so with those notes sent out, we're gonna watch a quick video because our next goal is to look at the causes and effects of War of 1812. And so what we have here are 8 things. We're gonna categorize them as causes or effects of the war. But I need to just share my audio, so just give me a second here.
it's often been mislabeled as the Second War for American Independence. The War of 1812, which was fought between the years 1812 and 1815 between the belligerent countries of the United States of America and Great Britain, was a war that was controversial in its time and largely forgotten to this day. It began on two frontiers. The first frontier was the American frontier, west of the Appalachian Mountains. British outposts were allegedly supporting native tribes, giving them food, guns, ammunition to fight the American settlers who were moving westward. On the second frontier, the Atlantic Ocean, American shipping was at risk. The British government was forcing American merchantmen to sail into British ports to be taxed on all of their goods, even if they weren't doing trade with the British Empire. At this time, there was a war raging on the European continent. It was between a coalition of nations and Napoleon Bonaparte's France. Great Britain had been embroiled in this war since the 1790s, and it had been a long and costly affair for all nations involved. Across the Atlantic, it impacted the United States, as the great ally of the United States was France. If it were not for France, we would not be a free and independent nation from Great Britain. But with the beheading of Louis XVI and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, this great alliance was on shaky legs. Still, the Americans were trading with the French, and this did not sit well with the British. This was too much for some in the United States, mainly war hawks like John C. Calhoun and Henry Clay. And in June of 1812, for the first time in its history, the United States will declare war on a foreign nation. The United States military forces, the Navy, the Army, they were ill-prepared to go to war with the world's greatest empire. By late 1812, excursions into Canada, where Americans were trying to break Canada away from the tyranny, as they saw it, of Great Britain. Americans will push into Canada with mixed results. The war will expand out onto the oceans. Earning its nickname, Old Ironsides, the USS Constitution will score its first victory during the War of 1812. Other American frigates will also bring home prizes and victories, much needed to keep the war going at home. But back across the Atlantic, things are starting to change during the Napoleonic Wars. Napoleon has come to grief in Russia. This will give a free hand to Great Britain to start paying attention to the pesky Americans back across the Atlantic. Thus, 30,000 British soldiers will be landed in Canada. Warships will end up off of American waters. The British will then, in 1814, land a force south of Washington, D.C., and capture and burn the United States Capitol. At the Battle of Baltimore, they will be turned back at Fort McHenry and will be given our Star-Spangled Banner by Francis Scott Key. The British will then turn to the Deep South, along the Gulf Coast, where they will fight at places like Pensacola, Mobile, and eventually at New Orleans, where an up-and-coming general named Andrew Jackson will bring home a victory in January of 1815, which 13 years later will propel him to the White House. Shortly after New Orleans, the Treaty of Ghent, which will end the War of 1812, is signed. Both sides will essentially go back to status quo antebellum. The British will hold on to Canada, the Americans will have their land holdings, and some improved fishing rights. Although much of the war was poorly prosecuted on the American side, there were enough victories to instill a sense of patriotism and pride. Perhaps the longest lasting legacy to come from the War of 1812 is our Star-Spangled Banner. While most Americans can't name a single battle from the War of 1812, they do know the words to our national anthem.
Okay, so there's a little bit of our notes plus some additional information. And if you look at my screen, here's the War of 1812 cause and effect chart, right? Below is a graphic organizer that examines the cause and effects of the War of 1812. In the box at the bottom of the page are a list of events that are either causes or effects of the war. Place each event in the appropriate section of the graphic organizer and explain why it's a cause or effect. Okay, so we're going to use this to eventually write a paragraph on here's a turning point in U.S. history. Here are two causes, explain them, discuss. Here are two effects, explain, discuss, and then we'll give you our own thoughts. Okay, so if you look at mine, I just typed them in there so I can actually move them. We have Warhawks, rise in American cotton manufacturing. Warhawks we already have on our notes. We have causes and effects of the, we have the Star Spangled Banner. We have the Erie Canal. We have nationalism, British impressment, American expansion, and the era of good feelings. So right down below, I have 4 definitions for those additional ones we don't know. So if you want to get those 4 down, rise in American cotton manufacturing. Americans sought to build up our own industry instead of sending natural resources to Great Britain. Star Spangled Banner, patriotic song written during the War of 1812. Erie Canal, American expansionism westward in industry helps us move goods. Era of good feelings, Americans were proud that we were able to stand up to Great Britain on our own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this here so you can see my list. I want you to try to categorize 4 causes and effects, and I'm going to give you the amount of time it takes to play the Star Spangled Banner. Beautiful song, beautiful. So what we're going to do is in the chat box, I'm going to pull up Warhawks. Okay. So here's Warhawks. Oops, excuse me. Come on, Mousy. Warhawks. Should I put it under cause or effect? Please type in the chat of Warhawks as a cause or effect of the War of 1812. David, thank you so much. You are correct. It is a cause. So let's put that in the cause column. Okay, I'm going to pull another one. British impressment. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. British impressment. Look at your notes. You may want to review the notes, see what's going on here. Is this a cause or effect? British impressment. Shh. All right, well, thank you. You are participating more so than anyone else. I'm going to come back up here. All right, let's look at this. These are our causes, right? Impressment, Embargo Act, Native Americans attack. So these are ones we took notes on. Warhawks, expansion, and declaration of war. Shh. So I can move this right over here. What about the Star Spangled Banner? Cause or effect? Correct. Okay, it is an effect. We wouldn't have that song we just heard without this. How about American expansionism? You're going to have to read in between the lines, look at your notes, and see what's going on here. Is this a cause or an effect? Cause. Thank you, sir. All right. So if we find one more effect, one more cause, we know what we're looking for here. Error of good feelings. If you look at the definitions below, let's scroll down. Definitions are below. Error of good feelings. Would that be a cause or effect? Shh. Thank you again. It is an effect because we were able to stand up for ourselves. So this is after the war. We prove that we can handle ourselves. I'll put it at the bottom. This is so long. American nationalism. The belief that we're better than anyone else. You know what? Now I look at it, nationalism could go either way. It could go either way because we stood up for ourselves against the largest country in the world. It could be a effect. It could be a cause. So you could argue. I'll just write it down here myself. I shrink my font. This could be both. Erie Canal. We haven't talked about it yet. Most things we do in class are linear, meaning we go from oldest to most recent. So is the Erie Canal a cause or an effect? Oops, that's not what I want to do. Undo. Shh. on, mouse. Erie Canal. I gotta fix that both again. So Erie Canal, is it a cause or an effect? All right, I'll take that. It is an effect? Whoops. Come on. Toggling here like I'm the only one. And last one I got left, rise in American cotton manufacturing is obviously an effect because we're going to build up our own industry instead of saying natural resources of Britain. Because we've got a beef with them, we got some issues. We don't want to deal with them right now. Okay? So what we're going to do is, I know some of you don't have things done. We're going to come back. Last period, we're going to come back to our writing on Monday and use our notes to complete a paragraph and turn them in. So we're going to use these notes, this page right here, and I'm going to zoom out for you right there. A little more of a zoom. There we go. That's what I want. New. I'm going to copy that right there and put that in the chat if you didn't get everything caught up. All right, so that's coming out your way in the chat. So if you didn't finish that chart, you can finish it in your notes before you turn it in. We're going to turn our notes on Monday. The marking period's still open next week. So what we're looking at is we're going to look at these notes, our causes, our cause and effect chart. And we're going to try to put together a paragraph where we'll show you step by step how to put this together on Monday. And then we'll turn this in. So remember, we worked on day 1 on Monday. Day 2 we did yesterday. And that, if you missed these notes, they're on the videos Mr. Ricky put up for you. And we just finished this section right here. You only need this chunk right here. We didn't fill any of this in down here. This is independent. Make sure you get this page done on these two. Once again, this is something we're looking at to seeing if you're paying attention, doing your part. And so I'm just going to scroll back down here. Quick little recap. Make sure you're going to your grade book. Make sure you have your quiz in from the other day, from Unit 4. All right. 10 easy points, open notebook. We're not going to make it any easier than that for you to raise your averages. So easy way, let's look at someone real quick. Let's pull up, who don't we see too often? Plu is never here. This is how it looks like for Plu or any of you. Just pull up your grades. It'll show you if you have anything scored. If you have a dash here, it means you're missing that, and it will go in for a 0 on Infinite Campus. So anything you're missing, like the quiz from yesterday, you can easily click on it. It'll take you right there. Okay, very easy to work your way through this. So I don't want to go any further with the writing. I think we just don't have enough time to do it correct. But I will ask everyone to finish up your Adams and Jefferson part. So we'll take these last couple minutes to give you a chance to finish up your own independent work.